Wow, we're sitting here near the Pamunkey Reservation with one of my favorite storytellers that recently, because I met him recently, Shumkawakau, and he is going to tell us the truth about Pocahontas as he knows it. Say go.
Sego. Well, Pocahontas. That the word Pocahontas. That's a nickname for a little girl, and I've heard 3 or 4 different explanations what it means. One is babbling brook. The other one is a playful one, and then little snow feather. I heard that too, and I've heard a couple more from other people. But Powhatan. His name was Wahunsonacook, and he had 50 wives. And so if he had only one child with each wife, that would have been 50 children. But he probably had more like 2 children with each wife, and that would be 100 children. And if 50% of them were girls, that means he'd have 50 daughters. And so if you had 50 daughters, it'd be kind of hard to keep track of their names. So I think he used that word Pocahontas as just a nickname, and he probably called more than one daughter Pocahontas. And if you look at the English records, there's some discrepancy on how old she was, and there's different accounts. Somebody saw her and she was 8 years old, someone else said she was 12 years old, someone else said she was 14. So it could have been that there was different girls, and to the English we all looked alike. So, and anyone who would see one of Powhatan's daughters would say, "Look, there's Pocahontas," and they could have been talking about 3 or 4 different girls, maybe even 10. So the girl that became the Pocahontas that we know, her name was Matoka, and she married John Rolfe. We don't even know if she ever even knew John Smith, but the account is that there was a Pocahontas that did know John Smith, but that doesn't mean that they were, romantically involved. And the whole thing about that she saved his life, we don't know if that's true or not, because John Smith never mentioned that until a couple years later when he was in England. When he went back to England, and he was in one of those adventurer clubs, and all the people that went out as great adventurers, they had these clubs, these gentlemen's clubs, and after their adventuring days were over, they'd sit around and drink brandy and talk about their adventures and write about their adventures. He didn't mention the story of Pocahontas, saving his life until a couple years after he went back to England, and when he was in one of those clubs. So there's a lot of speculation that it wasn't true, that he just kind of, made it up or kind of romanticized it. And there's some people that believe that the ceremony that he went through was actually an adoption ceremony, that Powhatan actually adopted him, and maybe he misunderstood it, and the warriors grabbed him and brought him over, and somebody stood up for him and spoke for him. That's what they do in the longhouse when they name you. Somebody stands up for you and names you. So it could have been actually a naming ceremony, but he thought it was he thought that they were going to smash his head in. But after that point in time, he had a good relationship with Powhatan, and he did a lot of trading back and forth, and we traded with the English a lot. And I think one of the reasons Powhatan allowed John Smith to live and allowed the Jamestown colony to prosper was Powhatan wanted to get the trade from the English. We wanted to get axes and copper and iron pots, knives and tools, so we could trade them with other tribes. And Powhatan thought he could control the English, and he could control the trade, and then it would make the Powhatan Indians wealthy by trading to other Indian tribes out west. So that's why we let the English get a foothold, because when they first came, we could have destroyed them at any time, but Powhatan wouldn't let the warriors mess with the English. He wanted the English fort there so he could trade with for English goods. And then he was getting old. And he didn't realize how many more English were coming across every year. They're coming across the ocean. And by the time his brother Opie Kankanu took over, it was almost too late. There was thousands of English here in Virginia. Then Opie Kankanu, he was the chief of Pamunkey. Opie Kankanu tried to wipe them all out, and it was called the massacre of 1622, and it was on Good Friday morning, and he knew that all the English would be getting together and eating, because he knew about Christianity, and he knew that they'd all be together on Good Friday. And so he had warriors simultaneously attack all the English villages on Good Friday morning, but they were warned by a young Powhatan warrior named Chanko. So at a couple of villages they were ready for us, and so they defended it and they fought back. And so the attack, it wiped out about 3/4 of the English settlers at the time, but we didn't get all of them. And that started a subsequent war, the 22-year war. Sometimes they call it Opie Kankanu's War. And it went on from 1622 to 1644. And then in the last battle, they captured Opie Kankanu, and they took him down to Jamestown, and they put him in shackles and put him in an iron cage. And he was on display, and kids used to poke him with sticks and stuff. And then the story is that one of the guards that was watching him shot him in the back. And some people think the reason the guard shot him was because the guard just couldn't, the guard had respect for him and couldn't stand to see him humiliated like that. But the Pamunkey were Opie Kankanu's band, and we're all descendants from Opie Kankanu and his band. And that's why we have the largest reservation, because if you look historically at Indian tribes, it's usually those who fought the longest and the hardest ended up with the larger reservations most of the time. So the other tribes kind of in Virginia, they kind of got scattered. We stayed together and fought longer, and we ended up with the larger reservation.
So sort of the squeaky wheel gets the grease, huh?
Yeah.
And give me a brief description of how powerful Powhatan was in his time, because the story I get is he was probably one of the most powerful men in this hemisphere at the time of his power.
Yeah, we had a chiefdom here, and it was.
Yeah, I know they're gonna do good though.
All the bands and all the villages were ruled by one chief, and there were sub chiefs. But we're talking territory from North Carolina all the way up into Pennsylvania, and as far west as West Virginia. And we actually we had the Chesapeake Bay. The Chesapeake Bay is a huge resource of shellfish and seafood, and we policed the Chesapeake Bay, and we traded all the goods from Chesapeake Bay. Oysters, they find oysters way up in the mountains. We used to fill dugout canoes up with oysters and take them up the rivers to the fall line, and you'll find oyster beds up there, piles of oyster shells, and that was from Powhatan Indians taking the oysters and trading them to the west. So we had a lot of commerce going on, and Powhatan was really into having that commerce and trading and making the Powhatan people more powerful. That's why he wanted the English goods, so we could trade the Chesapeake Bay bounty and English goods to the western tribes and the northern tribes. So it was, back in those days, I guess people think Indians were all scattered little villages and tribes. The Powhatan Confederacy was a huge political and economic machine back then, and that was before 1607.
Okay, I'm going to pause you here for a sec.